Hello everyone, so good to see you. Persona 3 Reload is almost out. News is constantly seeping ever since reveal, during full moons, or just sporadically. I don't know, Atlas has just been kinda dropping trailers whenever they feel like, so this might quickly become outdated if it isn't already. So I need to get straight to listing all the changes that we know so far. If you want to have an idea of just how in-depth these changes are going to be, look no further. If you're new to the series or just want to go into Reload as blind as possible, do not worry, I won't be spoiling anything major about the story. First and foremost, we'll address the broad overall changes. This is based on the original PS2 release of Persona 3, not Persona 3 Fest. Models were made from the ground up. Contrary to what you might believe, they are not reused from Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight. Every environment, model, texture, it's all been redone. When you consider Persona 5 was made based on the hardware of the PlayStation 3, that's major potential for so much improvement. The UI, as you have probably seen, takes a lot of inspiration from the dynamic aesthetics of Persona 5, yet mellows it down to fit the more somber tone of the game's story. There's now a mini-map when running around the world, just like there would be in Tartarus. You'll also find info for objectives that appears underneath the date and moon phase. Animated cutscenes have been completely redone, and in some cases, like with Makoto's awakening to his persona, these animated cutscenes have been rendered in-engine using their 3D models. The opening intro is also completely new, with a brand new accompanying song. More on the music later. As you may have already noticed, Reload also runs at a smooth 60 frames per second, much like how Persona 3 Portable performs at 60 on its modern console ports. One of the big features that people are lamenting we're going to be missing out on, aside from Kotone, is that in her story in Persona 3 Portable, you were able to make social links with every member of SEAS, including the guys. In the male route, you still only have social links with the girls in your party. However, Atlas intends to alleviate this with the use of link episodes added for certain characters. Episodes not only involve characters like Junpei and Koromaru, but also some of the antagonists of the story. These are some of the new additions that make me feel like the overall story might change in some places, or at least have more emotional impact down the line. These are available throughout the story, and participating in Link episodes will boost stats, character abilities, and unlock special Persona fusion recipes. Speaking of social links, every single one is voiced. It's not like the other Persona games where, for example, only the first and the final social link is fully voiced. No, they are going all in this time, which means all of these characters who have been mute and without a voice since the original will be given new life with this version, and I'm personally really excited to hear them all. For example, President Tanaka is going to be voiced by Patrick Seitz, and I cannot wait for this man to haggle and hector me. Not that Hector. Sorry, voice actor joke. So this actually used to be a thing. Social links cannot be broken anymore, which would usually happen when you're very bad to a person that you're in a relationship with. This could only potentially happen with about 5 characters, but if your social link was broken, you would not be able to summon a persona of that arcana in battle. Like, at all. A more common occurrence is when your social link would become reversed, which can still happen, but those conditions are now less strict. You can now also choose whether to pursue a romantic or platonic relationship with these social links, whereas beforehand, you were always forced into being a couple. Much like in Persona 5, the protagonist will get a text message if a social link wants to hang out. You can now perform little activities with your friends. You can cook, read, watch TV with your impressionable dog. These will help to increase your social stats like academics, charm, and courage. Much like Persona 4 and 5, you can now also garden with your friends. As before, the purpose is to boost your status in battle, but now you can also learn team skills unique to your party members, like Junpei getting an increase in critical rate and critical hit strength. Remember all those questions that you'd be asked in class, and on repeat playthroughs you were just like, oh, I remember this? Well, you better forget all of those, because now we have all new questions to answer to get our academics rank up. But also like in Persona 5, if you're connected to the network, you can see what other people have answered. It's like Ask the Audience, except they're almost always right. You can use this same function to see how other players utilize their time. Did they work on their social stats? Hung out with a friend? Did they go to Tartarus or study? It's more of a suggestion, not a guide, so honestly don't think too hard on it. There is a lot to go over when it comes to battle, so let's get started. The members of SEAS can now don all new attire in battle. This equipment is not available right away. If this cutscene is showing them wearing it for the first time, we can expect them to acquire it after the 3rd full moon event. Getting into battles themselves, there's a dynamic cut-in once a battle starts. You know you gotta make a stylish entrance, yeah? Unlike in the original and Persona 3 Fest, you can now control all your party members during a battle, much like in Persona 3 Portable. It's definitely weird to call this a change in the year 2024, but the PS2 originals were something else, I tell ya. The UI has been simplified so that each action can be hit with the touch of a single button rather than on a scrolling wheel. The concept of baton passes, where you give your turn to another party member after hitting an enemy weakness, makes a return and is now called Shift. Unlike in Persona 5, this action will not give the next character any stat boosts. There's a lot of little changes happening in battles as a whole. Properties of some attacks have been changed, and we now have the introduction of light and dark spells like the Eiha and Koha lines. This on its own not only changes the attributes of some personas, but also boosts the potential of a couple of party members that lean into the light and dark spells. It's going to give them more viability during a stretch of the game where you might have more or less already figured your party composition out. One of the biggest additions is the new system called Theurgy, which allows a party member to do a cinematic special attack after filling a gauge. The method to increase this gauge is different depending on the character's personality, where some actions will fill it faster than others. These traits will alter and become easier to increase as certain social events take place over the course of the story. There are some aspects of the previous iterations of Persona 3 that have been compiled into this Theurgy system. Your ability to perform fusion spells has changed once again, and instead of being an item like in Portable, it'll take advantage of this system. Aigis' Orgia mode has also been implemented into the Theurgy system and is no longer a tactic that you would normally assign to her. All-out attacks are back, a staple of the series. This time, each member of SEES has their own finishing touch, as they call it, much like how the Phantom Thieves all have their own splash screen at the end of battle. While still stylized, they're a lot cleaner and less chaotic than the Persona 5 counterparts. Shuffle Time, which returns as well, actually interrupts the finishing touch midway when they occur. People are still kinda split on that decision, but this time, instead of playing a shuffle minigame, you can freely choose what beneficial card or persona you'd like, much like how it worked in Persona 4 Golden. In addition, as you collect major arcana cards, you'll give the party different effects that last through the rest of the night of your exploration. Reaching the max number of major arcana cards will cause a arcana burst, causing minor arcana cards like healing, money, experience boosts to rank up its effects. Could potentially make grinds a lot less painful and tedious. In the original, party members would automatically choose what skills they would remove or upgrade as they leveled up. You're now able to freely decide what skills they retain or forget. If you have someone forget a skill that you'd rather they relearn again, you can visit the Chagall Cafe and have them relearn it. Thankfully, party members will no longer get tired after prolonged periods of battle, a mechanic that used to really impede progression both in and out of Tartarus. In a game that's going to have a lot more social aspects to participate in, I say, good. Also, costumes! You'll find plenty of costumes in-game, and they're now a separate cosmetic option apart from your armor. Before, they used to be tied to the same slot. Your costume is also reflected on the UI when selecting a persona skill, and I appreciate that attention to detail. Fuka has also been revamped in her support role. She now has an SP bar that is actually usable and can aid the party with certain skills, like making them undetectable to shadows on a floor. Her Oracle skill, which used to potentially give negative effects, will no longer fail and now acts as a Theurgy ability. Also new is the Fortune Teller at Club Escapade, who can alter effects of Tartarus in some unspecified ways. Speaking of, Tartarus itself has gotten quite dramatic changes, a few which I've already experienced myself. Instead of just one movement speed, you can now dash through the halls, but this will more easily alert roaming shadows. Previously, you were able to split your party up to search floors for treasure, exits, and battle shadows for experience. That's no longer here, but there are times where a party member will ask to search the floor above. If you agree, they'll be gone for the current floor and pick up any treasures that they encountered above. Not too certain if that means the rest of the floor is going to be already searched with the map filled out though. You can also set yourself up for auto recovery so that you're not fumbling through menus casting Dia over and over again. So here's kind of a crazy one. In the original Persona 3, Fest, and Portable, there was an extra set of 10 floors called Monad with some of the strongest shadows in the game. Definitely your endgame level grinding area. In Reload, the Monad depths return, but with a different function. A Monad door can appear at random, and within it is a treasure guarded by a powerful shadow. Winning this battle also allows you to get a special shuffle time that awards you with major arcana cards. A Monad Passage, which is in fact a different variation, is a long hallway with many shadows, and the reward at the end could be weapons, costumes, or other unique items. The Velvet Room has been modified and more modernized. Instead of just hoping and praying that a persona will pass down a specific set of skills, you can now choose which skills they inherit manually. There is also, as with any Persona game, new personas to collect. And, as you may have seen, the Velvet Room's overall interface and animations are brand new as well. If you've been watching the trailers, you'll notice that the entire script has been redubbed, and it is specifically based on the revised version made for Persona 3 Portable. Just about every single character in this game is now voiced by new talent. There is a single character who is still voiced by the same talent as in the original Persona 3, and that is Elizabeth by Tara Platt, who also happens to be the original voice of Mitsuru as well.
Velvet, oh velvet, my master has a long nose.
And I gotta say, if there is one character who I'm glad still retains the same voice, I'm really glad it's her. As mentioned earlier, every social link is now voiced as well. With all the new events added, this gives Persona 3 Reload quite possibly the most heavily voiced game in the series history. There are some Japanese voice actors who reprise their roles, not from the game, but from the Persona 3 movies. The most notable one is the voice of Koromaru, voiced by Shinya Takahashi. And no, not that Shinya Takahashi, if you were wondering. I had to stop and look that up myself. But this Takahashi does help deliver more life to Koromaru. I kinda do prefer him being voice acted rather than hearing the same 3 or 4 stock barks throughout the entire game. I know probably not everyone will be cool with a person voicing a dog, but honestly it's fine by me. Along with adjustments to the script, Makoto, our main character, now narrates in the first person instead of the second person. And one more little note here, every character with a surname will now have their full name shown in dialogue boxes when speaking, putting it more in line with how the Japanese version did it. Oh, and the music. The music has been completely redone, containing new tracks as well as remixes and arrangements of songs from the original. Shoji Meguro, who's been composing for Atlus and the Shin Megami Tensei series for a very long time, will not be participating in any of the songs this time around. Instead, we'll be having Atsushi Kitajo. In the past, he's contributed some songs to the Persona 5 and the Dancing spin-off series. He's also the main composer for the Persona Q series, but this is the first mainline game that he'll be the primary composer on. Lotus Juice returns to his roots with Persona, reprising his roles as the rapper and vocalist for a number of songs. He's actually in the soundtrack more than before now. You veterans out there remember that funky theme that plays in the Iwatorai dorm? You know the jam.
I say, hey, 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 fill the fire with a burning desire, yeah, get a fall for that thing.
Yeah, that one. Well, now it's got the Lotus Juice chill vibe to it instead.
Hey, feeling the fire with the burning desire every day. We inspire, but never expires.
Some of the lyrics are borrowed and fused into this arrangement, which I appreciate. I know some people will miss the original, but I think they wanted to separate themselves from the samples and inspiration used from the Best Service Hallelujah sample library. Those were part of a mix of a CD which had samples and vocals that a lot of games used. Beyond that, Yumi Kawamura is no longer the female vocalist for Persona 3, and the mantle has been taken up by Azumi Takahashi. As far as what I've heard so far, there's definitely mixed feelings here. Some songs, like Changing Seasons, sound fantastic, especially with the added lyrics. But others, like her portion in Mass Destruction, doesn't quite hit the same. But I'm open to listening and hearing more, it just might be a matter of getting used to it. Speaking of, as with Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 Royal, there's a new battle theme introduced when you have the player advantage upon starting a battle, called It's Going Down Now. Don't worry, Mass Destruction is still there, the arranged theme will play during regular encounters. And finally, the Collector's Editions and DLC real quick. For the North American version, we get the art book, soundtrack, the complete set of DLC costumes and music, alongside an Aigus statue. The Japanese limited edition has all of this and a C's armband. That audience can get the Aigus statue separately, while we cannot. That's unfortunate. The DLC costumes are pretty cool. You can have the C's dress up in Yasogami outfits or as Phantom Thieves. I gotta say, Ken wearing the kid version of Fox is hilarious, and Koromaru wearing Morgana's costume is kinda cursed. What, did they just apply spray paint to my boy? I also can't help but notice that we have every party member from Persona 5 Royal, except for Violet. Even the alternate version of Crow is here. Gee, if only Persona 3 had one more character who could have worn Violet's outfit. How very unfortunate. And finally, all of that aside, I have saved the best update for last. Are you ready? In Persona 3 Reload, you can pet Koromaru. Look this bundle of joy. He's gonna bow all over your corpse. And that's mostly everything I'm aware of as far as changes coming to Persona 3 Reload. 2006 was the year the game came out on the PlayStation 2, and we're so close to the release of the remake. There's probably gonna be more news before this video comes out. So please, go easy on me. Are there any changes that you're still hoping to see? Will this be your first time playing Persona 3 ever? Let us know down below, and subscribe to Good Vibes Gaming before the dark hour comes, because, like, your computer or phone won't work during the dark hour. It gets scary and green, and I don't want to be alone here, so please subscribe and hit the bell. Take care everyone, till we meet again.